Have you ever asked yourself, what is the real price of your frustration? Or in my case, I've had to ask myself, what is the real price of my frustration? Finding myself frustrated a lot. Have you ever asked yourself that? I want to talk about that. I know this is impromptu, but I want to talk about this today. Call somebody, tell them I'm on. We getting ready to get busy. Well, I'm RC Blakes, and yes, this is Saturday. Yes, this is Saturday afternoon. And yes, I am live. I've been sitting back here in my studio doing a lot of work today. And I just have some energy today. So I decided to talk to you about something that really just kind of resonates with me as a leader, as a man, as a husband, as a friend, as a son, as a brother, as a pastor, that lives a life that is filled with opportunities to always be frustrated, but rarely take advantage of any of those opportunities. And then I look at people who are constantly frustrated, who have just not even a fraction of what God wants to pour into their lives, but because they can't manage pressure, they can't manage multiple things at one time, they get frustrated and they get stuck. I used to be that guy. I used to be the guy that would just kind of pull the covers over my head and, oh, I'm done with it. I'm frustrated. So this is the end of the world. I'm just checking out. And then I grew up and I realized that when I checked out, by the time I checked back in, I wasn't even where I left off. I had lost ground. My frustration was costing me more than I could afford to pay. Now let's get some definition of frustration today. Please invite some others, share this out, invite others to come in. Frustration is the emotional experience of feeling blocked from reaching a desired outcome. Man, do I know about that. There's a building, it's a modular building that we purchased almost a year and a half ago that, just to make space at our Houston church for our kids. Man, we've had such a time with this building, just getting the papers to, to be able to go into it and use it. It's been almost 2 years. And our children needed the space. We needed the space for the children, for the church to grow. Families are coming and we didn't have the space. And the building's been sitting there paid for a year and a half. We've been blocked from reaching a desired outcome. Have I had occasion or opportunity to be frustrated? Absolutely. But back to my definition. It is not only something that blocks you from reaching a desired outcome, it is a legitimate emotional alarm. It's legitimate. But watch this. While frustration is a legitimate emotional alarm, it is a dangerous permanent residence. And this is where I think many of you flunk life. You make a permanent residence of frustration when it should have just been a pass-through. You should have felt the emotion and kept it moving. It was designed to signal movement, not stagnation. So every time over the year and a half that, I get news that we still have a problem, we still have a problem. Am I frustrated? Yeah. I go out to see the people and the building's still sitting there, but I don't let that emotion sit in me. I don't allow it to, I don't turn it into a residence. It's designed to signal movement, not stagnation. Frustration is not sin. It is really not even weakness. It is a lack of clarity. It can be a lack of faith sometimes, but it is one of God's emotional warning systems. Like physical pain alerts us that something is wrong in the body. Frustration alerts us that something in our lives requires attention, adjustment, or change. Or sometimes it just simply requires trusting God to manage something that's out of our hands and going about our lives busy with the things that are in our hands. Because some of you right now are frustrated about things that are clearly out of your hands. Why sit there in frustration when this is clearly not in your hands? Trust that into the hands of God and keep your hands to the plow of the things that have been assigned to you. So the danger is not experiencing frustration. The danger is building a life inside of it. Because many people, mistake frustration for destiny. They stop searching, stop believing, stop growing, and eventually stop expecting anything different. Oh, this is just destiny for me. I'm destined to be in this. What was intended to be a temporary emotional signal quietly becomes a permanent way of living for many. And the longer frustration remains, the higher the price becomes. Jesus himself, Jesus himself experienced frustration. Paul experienced frustration. Moses experienced frustration. Yet none of them allowed frustration to become their identity. Then you said, oh my, I'm frustrated. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Now, if there's anything that frustrates me is leaders that get frustrated about the ebbs and flows of leadership. What do you think leading is? Leading is about being out front, experiencing it before the people experience it, regulating yourself before you even approach the people, and keeping your focus on the thing that God told you to do. So all of the people that I just mentioned, they all experienced some level of frustration. They treated it as a signal to see God, gain wisdom, and to continue moving forward, not camp out in a puddle of self-pity. When Hurricane Katrina happened, almost 21 years ago in a few days, I couldn't sit in a puddle of frustration. I was depressed. I was all over the place, but I kept moving. I kept moving. You're sitting there right now. You're frustrated. You're sitting in the house. You've been sitting in the house for 4 days, frustrated. And somehow you think that you sitting in frustration is improving your state, your lot in life, your outcomes. Look around. Nobody's attending your party. A frustration party is one you attend by yourself. You know why? Nobody can afford to sit around with you doing nothing. That's what frustration boils down to. Doing nothing. Imagine walking in the middle of the night, walking downstairs in your house, and you discover that it's engulfed in flames. Now, you would naturally panic, right? I'm certain that there can be nothing in life too much greater than your house burning down around you that would be more frustrating. You might cry, you might even scream. But no rational person would sit in the burning house saying, "This is terrible. I guess this is just my life now." Everything inside of you would begin searching for an exit. Windows become opportunities. Doors become priorities. You begin to rethink Santa in that chimney, even. You might try to figure out a way to climb up that chimney and get out of it. Furniture becomes obstacles. Nothing matters except finding another way out. Yet emotionally and spiritually, many people do exactly the opposite. They remain seated inside emotional fires, rehearsing why escape is impossible instead of searching for another way. Because frustration was never designed to become your residence, it was designed to motivate your escape. Now, let's see. Here's the first thing that I listed, and I'm going to try to be brief today. Number one, frustration cancels creative thinking. The cost, what is the real cost of my frustration? It is canceling your creative thinking. The first thing frustration attacks is imagination. The first thing frustration attacks is imagination. The capacity, the ingenuity, the ability that you would have normally used to find your way out of this situation has been hijacked. First thing frustration has been hijacked by your frustration. The mere fact that you've sat there and you've allowed yourself to be overwhelmed by a situation is the very reason you can't get yourself out of the situation. Because a frustrated mind stops asking, what else could work? See, that's where I'm at all the time. I don't have time to be frustrated. Every day I wake up, please understand this. Every day I wake up, I have more to do than I can get done in that day. I'm never without anything to do. And so for me, I don't have the luxury of frustration because I have to be self-motivated. I spend a lot of time by myself doing what I have to do to make things work for me and a whole lot of other people. So I don't have the luxury of sitting around, oh, well, I don't see a way. I got to figure out a way. Frustrated mind does not ask the question, what else could work? Instead, it quietly concludes, nothing will work. I tried everything. You haven't tried anything. You've been laying in the bed for the last 7 days with the drapes pulled. Once the mind reaches that conclusion, it stops searching. The imagination closes. Options disappear and problems begin to look permanent. And you redefine the situation, and you may even redefine your own identity. Because one of the greatest casualties of frustration is perspective. It narrows our vision until all we can see is the obstacle in front of us rather than the opportunities around us. Frustration convinces us that because we cannot see a way, there is no way. Yet every breakthrough in history began when someone refused to accept the limitations of the moment and believed another answer existed. That's where I live. I just always believe there's another way. It's going to happen today. It may not happen today, but I'm going to wake up tomorrow. It's going to happen today. There's another way. God's going to make a way. God's going to give me a new idea. God's going to bring somebody into my life. And that's how I've lived my life for 62 years now. Well, not all of them. I had to learn these things, right? Peace, expands perspective. Frustration shrinks it. When the heart is unsettled, discernment is clouded. But when the mind is anchored in God, creativity returns because faith always leaves room for possibility. Frustration does not. Frustration puts a sign on the door of your heart saying to faith, faith not welcome here. Proverbs 24:10 says, if you faint in the day of adversity, we know your strength is small. The weakness Solomon, speaks of is not merely physical strength, but it's the collapse of inner resolve. Frustration tempts us to stop thinking before God has finished revealing his solution. You've given up before God has even gotten started. Isaiah 26:3 says, thou will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee because he trusts in you. Now, I want you to pay attention here. Notice the connection between peace and focus. Perfect peace whose mind is focused on you. Notice the connection between peace and focus. A mind fixed on God is not consumed by panic or imprisoned by frustration. It remains open to wisdom, direction, and possibilities that an anxious mind cannot perceive or relate to. Albert Einstein says we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Wow. Here's number two. What is the real cost? What is the real cost of my frustrations, Bishop? What's the real cost? What's the real price of this frustration that I've just chosen to camp out in? Number two, frustration becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You feel it before you see it. So long-term frustration quietly transforms possibility into certainty. When people stop saying this is difficult, they begin saying this is just how my life is. And eventually, expectations die, hope disappears. Behavior follows belief. People, rarely outperform the future they have already accepted as fate. The greatest danger isn't failure, it's surrender disguised as realism. Frustration whispers that tomorrow will simply repeat today. It ain't gonna be no different. It's not gonna ever change. It ain't gonna ever change. Things never go my way. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Faith insists that God can interrupt the pattern at any moment. The future belongs to the person who refuses to let present disappointment become permanent expectation. That's faith talking. Frustration says, yeah, that's nice talk. That's nice talk, but you ain't in my shoes, and I don't plan on being. Romans 12:2 says, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Don't let what's happening on the outside reframe who you are on the inside. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. A renewed mind creates renewed expectation. Before God changes circumstances, he often changes the conclusions we've accepted about those circumstances. Now, number three. Oh my goodness. Let me see. Let me just interact here for a minute. It says your mental health clinician says, thank you so much for answering my emails a few months back when I was incredibly frustrated. God bless you, Bishop. That was my complete honor. That was my complete honor. Number three, what is the real price of my frustration? Frustration, frustration reveals or destroys character. You are really on trial when you feel most frustrated, because pressure never creates character, it exposes it. So we don't really know who you are until we get you under some pressure, and then you get that frustration on you. Your frustrations are either revealing your character, um, revealing the character that you have, or revealing the character that you lack. Maybe we assumed you had it. But when movement becomes difficult, frustration moves the filters. That's what it's doing. It's revealing who you really are, not only to you, but to those around you. Because you may have been existing behind the filter. And filter is this thing that they use a lot now on pictures and what have you. And sometimes people use filters to an extent they don't even look like themselves anymore. I don't have a problem with using the filter to take some of the bags from under my eyes if I'm tired, or if my forehead is wrinkled up too much, my eyes red. I'll use filters to kind of correct some of that stuff. But some people use filters to the point that they look like Mickey Mouse. They don't even look like you. You would not even know that was that person. And so frustration, many times you've looked at yourself through filters. And what frustration does is it cuts the filter off, and we get a chance to see who you really are. And when frustration hits the button, some people become cruel, some people become dishonest, some abandon integrity altogether. Others reveal remarkable patience, wisdom, humility, faith. Anyone can have character when life cooperates, but character is measured when inconvenience arrives. Frustration reveals who is truly governing your life. Your emotions, is it your emotions, or are your convictions governing your life? Mature people refuse to allow temporary feelings to dictate permanent decisions. They remain faithful to their values even when circumstances become uncomfortable. You should want to see a person, before you marry somebody, you should want to see them frustrated. You don't want to marry somebody that can't tolerate too much, because there's nothing that will frustrate you too much more than being married to another person. When they have their mind and you have yours, when they want to do one thing and you want to do something else, these are realities. Or they wake up on the wrong side of the couch, side of the bed rather. Hope they're not on the couch. They're really in trouble. They wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and they're taking stuff out on you. And there's nothing that will frustrate you more than the realities of a relationship like that. And if you're married to a person that just buckles, "Ooh, I'm frustrated, I'm out. I ain't put my hands on you. Ain't nobody cheated. Ain't nobody steal no money. I ain't ruined no credit. What you out about what? You didn't speak nicely to me." Oh my God. James chapter 1, 2 through 4 says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing," or mature. You got to see them. Pinky Love says you got to see them in all seasons. Correct. I want to see you in all seasons. I want to know how you function under pressure. A woman should always want to know how a man functions under pressure. If a man is under pressure and he rolled up in the middle of the bed in a fetal position, crying, and you rubbing his head and all this kind of stuff, oh my God. Now, a man can have a moment, because I've had moments where I cried, but I wasn't in no fetal position in the bed. I was on my feet trying to figure it out. believing all the time God gonna work this thing out some kind of way, because God often uses seasons of frustration as classrooms for maturity. And if we surrender to him, frustration produces perseverance. If we surrender to our emotions, it produces regret. The question is not whether frustration will shape you, but whether it will make you better or bitter. Now, number 4, what is the real cost of this frustration? What is the real cost? What is the real price of this frustration that I'm camping out in? Frustration makes you fight the wrong enemy. Frustration makes you fight the wrong enemy. One of the greatest deceptions of frustration is misplaced warfare. Instead of confronting the problem, we attack people. We blame spouses. We blame friends, employees, church members. Blame our children. You're the reason I'm broke, cause you came here. Well, how I got here? Don't mind that. You're the reason I'm broke. Sometimes we even blame God, because frustration has a way of transferring internal pain onto innocent targets. And some of you all are doing that right now in your family. You are transferring your internal stuff onto people who have absolutely nothing to do with it. We begin punishing people who did not create the problem simply because they happen to be nearby, and they're nearby trying to help us work our way through it, and they catch a stray. Many relationships never recover from battles that were never really about the relationship. Wise people learn to ask, am I angry at you, or am I angry at what I'm experiencing? Emotionally mature people recognize that frustration often distorts perception. It convinces us that people are the obstacle when in reality they may be standing beside us trying to help us. Discernment allows us to separate the person from the problem. Look what Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12 says. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places. We have some demonic forces that are coming against us and twisting our minds, got us thinking that our friends are our enemies, and many times got us thinking that our enemies are our friends. So Paul reminds us that people are often not the true enemy. Frustration clouds our discernment until we begin fighting the wrong battles against the wrong people. Number 5, frustration. What is the real cost of this frustration? Frustration steals your ability to recognize opportunities. As long as you're frustrated, you will never see the opportunity. Oh my goodness. You're just sitting there in a complete pity party, and you are missing all kinds of amazing opportunities because you locked in on the frustration. Whew. I needed an amen corner right there. Because when the mind becomes consumed by what isn't working, it loses the ability to notice what is. So it is with married people. You get locked in on what's not working in your marriage. And because you're locked in on what's not working in you're locked in on the 2 things that are not working in your marriage that are inconsequential most of the time. Nobody's cheated. Nobody's, created any physical assault. Nobody's stolen the money. And so you locked in on these two inconsequential things, and you're forgetting the 98 amazing things that are working, because that's what a frustrated mind will do to you. And you'll end your marriage over two things that didn't matter. And then you won't come snap out of it and come to yourself until your husband or your wife is on the arm of another man or another woman. Then you'd realize what you actually had, but frustration canceled your ability to recognize the opportunity by locking you in on, because opportunity rarely announces itself, it whispers. And frustrated people are often too emotionally loud to hear it. Now, some of God's greatest doors arrive disguised as inconveniences, disguised as delays, or disguised as detours, or disguised as disappointments. Because frustration fixates on loss, it binds us to what God is building in the background. Or it blinds us. We can't see what God is actually building in the background because we locked in on the frustration. We don't see. God, wait a minute. I've been so locked in on this, I'm missing that. Many people pray for open doors while arguing with the hallway God has placed them in. You're praying for open doors and God just puts you in a hallway full of doors. Every season contains opportunity, but only a peaceful mind has the capacity to perceive it. So I say to leaders, you can't be a leader always frustrated. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And y'all, you can find anybody. The Bible says you can find people that will teach you anything you want to hear. But if you're a leader, be it in ministry, corporate America, you got your own business, you got to lead people. You can't be no leader always frustrated. Because if you're always frustrated, you don't have no vision. Because a person that has vision is always looking for the next option, the next thing. See, frustrated people conclude that there are no other options. Visionary people conclude there's another way. You can't be a leader and always frustrated. So sit on down with that. Don't tell nobody you're a leader. Don't tell nobody you're a leader and you always frustrated. Isaiah 43:19 says, behold, I will do a new thing. It shall spring forth, but shall you not know it? I'm going to do something, but are you the one that's going to be able to see it, perceive it, discern it, recognize it? Now notice that God wasn't asking whether he was working. He was asking whether they could perceive him working. Frustration often blinds us to the very miracle we've been praying for. Number 6, I'm hurrying to my close. Frustration makes you expensive to love. Yeah, I said it. Frustration makes you expensive to love. A frustrated person is a very difficult friend, very difficult lover, very difficult spouse, very difficult sibling, very difficult partner in business or whatever. Because one of the hidden costs of chronic frustration is relational. People begin walking on eggshells around you. Conversations become tense. You change the climate every time you walk into the room. Joy quietly leaves the room. Family members begin, managing your moods instead of enjoying your presence. You're just high maintenance. It costs too much to be in relationship with you. Sean says, I'm so thankful for my counselor sending my husband and I to you. Your counselor sent you to me. Wow. Woo. I'm always honored when those who are mental health professionals respect and honor what the grace that God has put upon my life. I'm so moved by that. But back to what I was saying. But you know, it costs too much to love you. You're always frustrated. Leadership becomes intimidation. Marriage becomes something to endure. Friendship becomes maintenance. People rarely leave because someone experiences frustration. They leave because frustration has become that person's emotional climate, default. What began as a temporary response eventually becomes a permanent disposition. When frustration goes unmanaged, it often matures into irritability, anger, and even emotional unpredictability. We don't know where you're going. Those who love you begin protecting themselves from you rather than connecting with you. The tragedy is that the very people you need most begin creating distance because your unresolved frustration has become emotionally exhausting. Wow. Look what the Bible says in Proverbs 22, 24, and 25. Make no friendship with an angry man, and with a furious man thou shalt not go, lest thou learn his ways and get a snare to your soul. People move away from you because they're trying to protect their own peace. It's not that I don't love you, I love you. But the energy you carry, the spirit you operate in, the place you choose to camp out in is not somewhere I can survive. So Solomon teaches us here in this text that I just read that unresolved anger is contagious. It influences the atmosphere of every relationship and eventually becomes a trap, not only for the angry person, but for everyone living within their emotional orbit. So the price of frustration is often paid first by the people who love us most. And that's why we must learn to process it, grow through it, and leave it before it becomes our identity. And then number 7, and finally, frustration causes you to miss God's invitation to grow. Perhaps God's greatest purpose for frustration is not punishment, maybe it is invitation. Every season of frustration asks one profound question: who must you become to move beyond this? Sometimes the answer is not changing the situation. Sometimes God is changing you, the person. Because every new level requires another version of you. Every promotion demands another mindset. Every assignment requires greater capacity. Many people spend years praying for God to remove the frustration while resisting the transformation that would make the frustration unnecessary. God is often more interested in developing us than simply delivering us. Did you hear that? Now, watch this. I'm almost done. I was just looking at my comments. If frustration drives you toward God instead of away from Him, it becomes one of the greatest catalysts for growth you'll ever experience. And Romans chapter 5, 3 through 5 says, and not only that, but we also glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope. But notice the progression. God does not waste our struggles. Properly processed, frustration becomes perseverance. Perseverance develops character. Character produces hope. What the enemy intended to discourage you, God uses to develop you. So frustration always sends, it always sends an invoice. It's costing you something. Only question is whether you'll pay it. If you remain in frustration long enough, it will cost you your creativity, your patience, your discernment, your relationships, your character, your opportunities, your hope, and eventually your future. But when frustration is surrendered to God, it becomes something altogether different. It ceases to be a prison and becomes a pathway. It stops being a dead end and becomes a doorway to wisdom, maturity, and even transformation. The house may be on fire, but God never intended for you to decorate the living room. Find the exit. Move toward God. Change what you can. Trust Him with what you cannot handle, because the price of remaining frustrated is always greater than the price of growing beyond it. And so, with that said, I'm done. My prayer is that some way this has ministered to you. Now, before I let you go today, if you're there and if you're in need of any kind of counseling, there's a link in the description for BetterHelp Counseling. If you engage that link, you'll get a chance to find a counselor, therapist that can speak your language and suit or fit you where you are. And it will also afford you 10% off of the cost of their counseling. Now, there's something else coming that I want to start talking about. The link is not, I don't have the link yet, but I want you to pay attention starting probably Monday. You'll be able to sign up for Mordecai Mission. I think this will be our 5th cohort. This will be our 5th. Not done it for a couple of years. I just got kind of inundated, but I'm starting up another Mordecai Mission. This is a framework for the inner healing of a woman. Usually she's a woman that has everything going for her. On the outside, her career is together. She has her money together. You know, everything seems great, but on the inside, there are some things that she feels needs to be processed. And so Mordecai Mission has 3 movements. Inner healing, we work 4 weeks on that. Self-discovery, 4 weeks on that. Inner healing, self-discovery, self-development, 4 weeks on that. That's the 12 weeks. So heal, discover, become. I want you to get ready, pay attention, because when I open the door for Mordecai Mission, I only accept a certain number because it's a lot of work and I can't manage like a large group because it's live. I'm going to be actually talking and teaching and answering questions, Lisa and I, every week. So keep your eye open for that. And just know that I love you. I came to you on this Saturday. If you're anywhere around Houston, Texas, tomorrow, if you're watching this in real time, anywhere around Houston, Texas, I want you to meet us tomorrow morning for worship. In fact, come in for 10. August is the month of the Agreement Assembly at New Home, Houston. And I want you to meet us for 10. We're going to be agreeing with you in prayer about whatever it is that you have need of to see God do in your life. I want you to meet us. And then 11, we go into our worship experience. And I have a word that I'm sharing with you. And tomorrow it's our back to school bash. I just loaded up the truck with just computers. And there's all kinds of things that are going to be given away at New Home Houston, 4805 Schermeyer Road, Schurmier. Meet us tomorrow morning for 10 a.m. and God is going to meet us there. Now listen, I love you with all of my heart. I'm R.C. Blakes, and it has been my joy to have shared with you today. This has been another Let's Talk with yours truly, R.C. Blakes. I love you. Have an amazing, amazing day.
Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk with R.C. Blakes Jr. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk with R.C. Blakes Jr. Let's talk.
My queen, my queen. Oh, she. Beautiful, wonderfully made. She's heaven's angel. So strong, even in struggle, yeah. When life comes like a storm from every angle, she rises above it all, the backbone of every home. Nothing compares to all she do. The true meaning of every family. She's the glue. Where would we be without you? You brought us Martin, Malcolm, and Obama, yeah, and Jesus too. Oh, she's sophisticated, strong, simply amazing, humble, honest, and helpful, educated, ebony, eccentric, empowering. She's a queen, she's a queen. You better treat her like a queen. Oh, oh, Her strength is amazing. Life inside, 9 months she's carrying back to work, 'cause the family she's carrying. Society don't give her just due, but she prevails and stands tall. A champion, a true woman. But nothing compares to all she do. Yeah, the true meaning of it.